There are many forms of art, as well as many reasons for its production. Sometimes, art serves a purely aesthetic purpose. For example, some paintings seek to immortalize on canvas the beauty of life. This is often something people can appreciate and draw hope from. However, this is not to say it's always the beautiful that's represented. Sometimes the artist may wish to portray the harsher realities of life, or more difficult, wholly human emotions like sadness, anger, or fear. This can be helpful as it lets people know they're not alone in their hardship. As well as being an outlet for the artist, these more raw depictions often convey robust messages.
Many people believe that art influences society by changing opinions, instilling values, and translating experiences across space and time. Research has shown that art affects the fundamental sense of self.
Art means to me everything in life. Like, art is everywhere. Nature, beauty, it's nourishment for the soul. That's what I think art is. It's not something tangible sometimes that you can touch. I mean, obviously sculptures are and paintings are, but the feeling art gives you is not really something that you can describe to, well, yeah, it makes you happier, isn't it, human?
One of the key benefits of art is that it is used to express deep truth. In most cases, this can be applied to the social problems which an artist is attempting to convey through their pieces, often known as realism. This inevitably allows people with a mutual feeling to connect with the piece and potentially unite under a political message. Interestingly, Lauren Redman, in her book A Wake-Up Call for a Uniform Statute of Limitations in Art Restitution Cases, suggested that art captures the spirit of the one who creates it and is a mirror to the soul of the one who gazes upon it. Page 2. This, of course, emboldens this connection of feelings between the artist and the viewer.
Placed in the public arena, whether it's a painting on display at a museum, a film released at the cinema, or even a song released on iTunes, it can critique some perceived injustice prevalent in the status quo, in hopes of influencing public discourse sufficiently to engender positive change. This is known as protest art.
In the Cuban Revolution, which took part between 1953 and 1959, art was used to signify the strength of Castro and harness support for the revolution. This type of art would have indeed been a benefit for the left-wing communists, however, a real limitation for those who still believed in the right-wing regime.
Unfortunately, this tool can also fall into the wrong hands. It can be used as a means to strengthen and reinforce corrupt political institutions, a widespread practice within many dictatorships. This is known as propaganda. Of course, the effectiveness of the image is that it doesn't require literacy in order for it to be understood, and therein lies its power and danger.
Pablo Picasso is regarded as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, so much so that his name has become synonymous with artistic talent. At the turn of the 20th century, Picasso went through his blue period. This refers not only to the colour scheme, but also to the melancholy subject matter. During this time, Picasso's output included works such as Poverty, Les Pauvres, and La Repas Frugal, all portraying the harsh conditions the Spaniards at the time were living through, a ridiculous amount of poverty that was simply being ignored by the Spanish government. The use of dark colours and realism in these pictures combined to create a strikingly powerful and disturbing image. In Journal of the Royal Society of Arts, Garnet Rees states that one of Picasso's most striking characteristics is that he cannot be labelled cubist or surrealist, for his work far overlaps the confines of any one movement. This is quite right, and furthermore, his work, while still in the artistic domain, can be said to have influenced not only appreciators of art, but the zeitgeist of Spain at the time. Picasso's fame provided him with a viable platform from which he could voice his distaste for the situation in Spain. This became particularly prevalent with his most famous work, Guernica, painted in 1937, portraying the horrors of the bombings that occurred there. This was undeniably a form of protest, but, as Rees puts it, he could afford to experiment. This can be read in artistic terms as well as political terms. At the time of Picasso's blue period, other political changes were occurring in the world. Communism was on the rise. Picasso himself had communist tendencies, as one can possibly see from his images of the poor. It was a time of tension, and Picasso's paintings had the ability to cause national mental opposition, if not physical. In other words, his paintings didn't reach the level of causing a revolution, but they certainly captured and kindled the feelings of disdain for the status quo.
Art definitely influences society. for example, architecture is a form of art, so the buildings we live in can be conducive to health and well-being, or for example places that are not conducive, dark, dank holes and things like that, you know, in the world, give you something to look at, to feast on or to ponder. And the same with art, that you look on walls, whether it be in a gallery or on your wall in your living room. Most definitely. I mean, when you look at all the big movements, usually it's the artists and the mavericks that are the Renaissance people that have to think of these things first, and then it gets disseminated, and then the general populace kind of catch on.
Whilst many people are dismissive of art, deeming it unnecessary and a waste of money and resources, others believe it exposes and helps resolve issues of social injustice. As a cultural tool, art helps humanise and actualise the emotions, grievances and fears of those who may not have another place to voice concerns. As an illustrative and journalistic tool, art shocks and inspires us to action. In conclusion, in the environment we live in today, with a huge focus on technologies, art has become more of a commonplace. Although it contributed to change in the past, does it still have that power today? And if it does, why do we still live in a world where poverty, war and social injustice are still at large?